Welcome back, everybody. I am so excited once again to be here with you guys. I have a great interview lined up, one that I've been looking forward to this interview, guys, since I set it up. I really have been. And as you guys know, I say it all the time that music is my center. There's always music going in my house, mostly heavy metal and rock, as you guys well know. But the guest I have on today is amazing, and they actually made me look at music in a different way and listen to it in a different way, and that is the truth. And I will tell him, I'm going to probably not say it right now how this happened, but I will during this interview. So I don't want to talk too much at the beginning here. I want to really get my guest on here because I'm so excited. I'm so grateful that they took the time to come and talk to me about music because I love music. Been in my life since I can remember. There's always been music playing, as I tell you guys. So I'm just going to go ahead, welcome my guest. I'm so excited to have them here. Welcome, Doug Helvering. How are you doing, my friend? Thank you for being here.
Hey, Rick, it is good to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm so excited. We were talking a little bit about, at the beginning, how I found you. And just to let people know, I like looking at reaction channels to music that I love, but most of them are vocal people that are talking about all the heavy metal stars and rock stars I like. They're breaking down their vocals. I came across yours, and you were doing an Iron Maiden song, and it blew my mind because I was saying, like, within 5 minutes of you playing this Iron Maiden song, you're at your, I still remember it. You're at your piano and you're breaking it down in front of me. Like, you're like, okay, that's a key. It's in that key. It's in this chord. I'm probably going to mess up the vocabulary, but I apologize, guys. But you were breaking it down, and within like 5 minutes, you're playing the song on the piano, and it just, something clicked. I don't know what it is, but it made me look at music in a different way. Like, even these heavy songs by artists I love, like Iron Maiden, you can break down on a piano.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Amazing.
I know it's
it's just notes, man. So yeah, that's the thing. I come at it. So I was trained. You might be able to see. I have a diploma on the wall.
Yeah, I want to hear all about this. Yeah,
it says I am certifiable. Yeah, so I'm trained as a classical composer. So I came at this from, like, my musicianship skills have been developed over the years, so that, like, one of the things that I have taught is actual, musicianship, the nuts and bolts,
right.
at the college level. And part of that is ear training. And a lot of people think that I have perfect pitch, but I actually don't. It's really well trained relative pitch. It's something that's been learned. It's a muscle that comes back day after day.
Right.
And so, if you've ever heard the sound of music and doe a deer, a female deer, and all of that solfege stuff, that's what's running through my head.
Really?
I tune up before I do the video so that I have a good reference point, and then my first thing is can I figure out, based on my reference point, where their key is.
Okay.
If I can figure out that interval, then I can go, oh, okay, cool, this is an E minor, because I know where a C is, and I can figure out, oh, that's, if I know where that's a C, then I know that that's an E. And then once I figure out that they're an E minor, then I can figure out the types of chords that they're going to just by hearing them, because it's part of the training of a music major to be able to do that. And if you think about it, if you're a composer and you have something in your head that you dream up, they're like, yeah, this is what's going to happen. I love this. This is going to be my next piece. But you don't have the skills to turn the tune that's in your head into like something that can be notated so that people can play it, then you're SOL.
Right.
It's really frustrating. So when I first got started, I didn't have a really developed ear. So I'd have an idea in my head, and I'd come down and start writing it, and it would not be what was in my ear, but it might be something cool, but it was different. And I was like, I need to figure this out. And it was like, they're like, ear training. Just, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. So a lot of times, if you'll see me like looking up as I'm doing my videos, I'm visualizing what the notation looks like.
Wow.
It's just a little tick, so it's just part of it. And doing music, I have a doctorate in music, which means I did my bachelor's in music theory and composition. I did my master's, and then a doctoral degree in composition. I have a doctorate in making shit up. It's amazing,
That's fascinating. Wow.
But it culminates. So because of that, I I never really had the time or took the time to listen to the type of music that you're really into.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out not only the current more classical stuff, but catch up on hundreds of years of repertoire that you're expected to know
Wow,
as a
that's true.
professional in this field. So I
Right.
didn't really have the time to look at that a lot. And so the break of the pandemic kind of opened that up for me. And actually, it was my little brother who is more of a metalhead and rockhead than I am,
Right.
and he said, "Everybody's doing reaction videos. You teach music. You can do this." Just I'm like, what am I going to do?
Right. Right.
And he says, "No, just go in and just tell them how it works." I'm like, "All right." So I did. And the first one he suggested was an Iron Maiden video. It was, I think, Fear of the Dark.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah. And that was my very first one.
Wow.
That was in January of, gosh, was it? It would have been 2021.
Right.
And I, turn it on. I'm like, okay, cool. This is neat. They're in E minor, and they do this, and they do this, and they do this, and oh, cool. Hey, and Bruce stole my pants. Say a joke, and come back a few days later. I'm like, why have 5,000 people watch that? I had like under 200 subscribers at the time
Wow.
for my classical career,
Right. Right.
and my teaching career. And so I'm like, oh, well, people in the comments say I should do this one next, so I'll do that one next. And then people in the comments say, have you heard of a band called Nightwish? No, I haven't. Well, that's cool.
That's
I'll
a
go
great
over and
band too.
hear them. And then this and that. And then my little brother's like, okay, now that he's in, I'm going to get him going. So he sends me all of his favorite bands. He loves Tool. He loves Opeth. And we've done, we did some Porcupine Tree early on.
Yep.
And then I started branching out into prog. And I'm like, this is some good music. I really enjoy this. And I was really loving making new friends,
Right.
online. People, I think, that are metal fans in me were seeing somebody who has the training to give their music credibility and don't
Right.
like speak down about it because of any bias that I may have. I'm just accepting it at face value and telling you what I think and how it works, how I perceive it to work. So it's been a fun ride, and
It's been incredible. Like
we're
the stuff you're
we're rocking and
breaking
rolling.
down, the stuff you break down is incredible because like I was saying, it makes me I know why it resonated with people because I think for the same reason it resonated with me is
Mm,
that I don't know, when you're younger you think heavy metal stars are just they got magic or something, and then
uh,
you start seeing it. That's what shocked me. I was like, wow, he's playing it on a piano, and you're just playing along to it, and it sounds amazing. And I'm like, oh my god! And then, like I said, there was a switch that clicked in me, and then now because of you, I'm listening to way different music, and I appreciate music in a
mhm.
different way because I'm listening, and I don't have the ear you do. I don't know how you do what you do. I want to learn about this. Like, when did was music always in your life? Like, what sent you down your path to
You
get?
know, it's interesting. Most people that are in my field come from musical families, or music was like big in their lives
Hmm.
early as a kid. That was not the case with me. I don't come from a musical family. We didn't have music playing in the house on any given day or anything. I came from a family of athletes, of
Really?
jocks,
Okay.
right? So like my dad was a minor league baseball player, and I was going to go to college on a baseball scholarship until I hurt my shoulder pitching. And if I was listening to something as a kid or watching something, it was the game, whatever game was on, whether it was basketball or football or baseball or anything. And if I was listening to something, I was listening to the broadcast of the game.
Okay.
And so music really wasn't a part of it. We listened to music in the car, but it was whatever my parents were playing, and so I wasn't enamored with it. I wasn't, it wasn't just part of one of my priorities as a kid. And then that all changed when my family moved to Omaha, Nebraska, right as I was starting my eighth grade year. I would have been 12 or 13. and it was a new start, and I got invited to join the choir at the
Oh,
school.
interesting.
And really, the funny thing was, it was either study choir or study hall or choir.
Okay.
And I'm like, I don't need a study hall, and I don't know. And then the choir teacher goes, who happened to be a guy. So the fact that you've got a male as a middle school choral teacher is a thing of in and of itself. And he kind of says to me, he says, we really need guys. I'm like, I don't know how to sing. I've never really done it
Right.
before. He's like, it doesn't matter. I'll teach you. And then he said, in the 8th grade choir, we've got like 35 girls and like 7 boys.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I said, what time is choir? Those are good odds.
Yep.
Those are good. And then you get into the choir, and then you're expected to sing in front of these girls. It's like, oh, shit, that's the scariest thing I've ever
No
done.
doubt. I can imagine.
But you start to make sounds together. And I always loved analyzing and doing puzzles. So music became a puzzle piece to me. It was like, this is really cool. This person's doing this, and this person's doing this, and they're doing different rhythms at different times, and it all just kind of lines up and makes this really cool. How does that work?
Yeah, no
That's
doubt.
amazing. How did they do this? So I got really interested in how the music works, the mechanics of it. And by the time I got into college, I wasn't going to be a music major because I know how difficult it is to make a career out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I just kept being drawn into performance, and a lot of my friends were music majors, and they finally said, you know what? You're as good at this or better than a lot of us. Join us, or stop doing our homework better than we are. And so I finally took the plunge, and it's been a wonderful and fulfilling ride. It's been, financially difficult at times.
I can imagine. Yeah, music is a tough business. I know I talk to a lot of musicians, and it's not easy. It's not, you have to do it because you love it. Now, my question, I've always wondered this, because I can't even imagine how you break down music. You said you see it in your head. Can can anybody learn what you do, or is this a
Sure.
gift? Because
If I
can you teach somebody to hear what you hear?
Yes, if I can do it, then anybody can do it. It does take time. For me, what you see is repetition and hard work over 20 or 25 years. So for some people, they can pick it up a lot quicker.
Okay.
And some people, it can take a lot of time. I've got my keyboard
Yeah, that's amazing.
next to me, and there's also a freaking leaf blower that's out my window.
I don't
hope
hear
you
it
don't
though.
hear that.
So that's
Good.
good.
That's
Yep.
good. Let's see. What would I do? If I was like the other day, I was talking to a friend of mine who was we were talking about Dark Side of the Moon, and he says, "Do you remember how that goes?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, B minor down to A, bum bum, then a G, dum bum dum." Right?
Wow.
Then the there is no pain you are receiving.
I love that song.
Ships on the horizon. Then it goes up to C, then it goes to there, and so on. And if I can remember the progression in my ear, then I can relay it into the right notes to play. And as long as I can just remember a couple little markers about the piece, it starts in B minor, and there, bum bum, goes down to A, then ba da dee, then bum, down to there, and I'm like, yeah, I can play that. I can remember that.
That's
One of
incredible.
the things that you'll learn being a music major is how to synthesize music really quickly.
Which means
To be able to hear something once and remember it and be able to recall it.
oh wow, okay. That's not
Yeah,
me.
because they would do like we would be expected, if I was to be a music professor at the local university and I am out at a dinner party and someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, what about this in the Brahms Second Symphony?" They expect me to know that.
Oh wow. Okay.
Right? Just
Yep.
out of the blue. I'm like, yes, I remember. Okay, yeah. or so we would do drop the needle tests where they would go, they would start a recording in the 3rd minute of something, and I go, okay, Beethoven's 7th Symphony, 2nd movement. You just have to recall that shit.
That's incredible, Doug.
It was, so it teaches you how to like categorize, describe, and learn the language of how to describe it, so that we can take in as much as possible and be able to call on each of those different things as we have discussions and we're teaching and we're learning and we're in the repertoire.
Right.
There's one, I mean, it's one thing to know how it works. It's another thing to actually know the repertoire, which takes time.
I can imagine, and a lot like, so it's listening. I gather, like you said, it's a ton. You're doing a lot of listening. Now, when you hear a song, this is one thing I wish I've always wanted to ask you. When you hear like an Iron Maiden song or any song, you name it, do you hear every instrument individually?
If I really try to, sure.
Okay, because I just wonder if that's how you see it. Like you do.
A lot of times with rock and roll, what I'm really listening for is the bass line.
Okay.
Because the bass typically is playing the roots of the chords. And if I can figure out what the bass is doing, then I can not only figure out what the chords are, but I can figure out what the progression actually is. And, it really is just a matter of practice and repetition. If I'm here and I hear there down to there, I hear that chord, it goes to that chord. If I say, it's minor 1, flat 6, it's minor 1, flat 6. It's minor 1, flat 6. If I could hear, it's got May, it's got the 3rd note, it's got 2 notes in common, and it just moves to there. If you hear that and you remind yourself, that's what that is, that's what that is, that's what that is, like thousands of times, when you hear that to that, it just pops in your head.
And I'm assuming that a song has I'm just like, God, I wish I knew the vocabulary. I'm going to be fumbling around myself here, but that's okay. Cool. So these songs that we're listening to, when you hear these chords, there is a structure, right? There, like, does it normally something follow something else? Is what I'm saying, or can you jump around?
Well, that's the cool thing about rock musicians, is that a lot of them are self-taught.
Right, that's true.
Or they're learning from other guitar players and not from music dweeb nerds like me who've been taught in the Western art music tradition, right? I'll call it that instead of just like Western music theory. We're talking about, the difference between, the style of music that I have been trained to write and fully understand is music that is designed to be notated and then reproduced by any number of musicians who are good enough to read the notation and do it for themselves.
Okay.
Whereas bands tend to write songs that reflect their point of view of the world, and it becomes their song. And if somebody else covers it, that might be okay if they do it okay, but they got to get my permission first, right? It's my song, and it's maybe all the notes aren't written down. Maybe you've got just a lyric sheet with a couple of chords written on them, and you just remember how you do the riff.
Wow, that's very different then.
It's a completely different way of constructing the music. One is meant to be recorded, and the recording is the song. The other is the sheet music, and the sheet music, for lack of a better word, is the song. So it's a completely different way of looking at things and coming about them. The one being the guitarists and the rock musicians, they might not have been taught counterpoint, traditional and oft-use chord progressions, how a subdominant function chord can move to a dominant function chord, and that moves to a tonic function chord, and then all of the chromatic alterations that are available to work within that framework. They're like, screw it. I like this chord, goes to that chord, fits well on my hand. I like how it goes. Cool. Let's do that. I've come across some some chord progressions that I would have never even considered uh, in my own music because of my bias and my training.
Right.
You know, then but Arkefeld from Opeth does it. I'm like, what is he doing? Those chords should not be in the same song, but they work and they're really cool. You
It's
know, so
amazing.
yeah,
It's amazing that
it works.
they have it works. Yeah, and that's the crazy part too. Because you break down so many different bands now. It's really cool how you're jumping. You know, you'll do break down so many different things. I
Hmm.
found you through the Iron Maiden one, but I've watched all your other ones. I just watched your one with Jefferson Airplane when they did
Cool.
White Rabbit.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like I said, it's fascinating when I see you do that, and the way you're talking it to me, it's so magical how you can just
Yeah.
hear music. I don't hear like I hear music. I love music, and I kind of
Mhm.
that I always have. But to hear what you're hearing is to me that's something. It's a gift. I try,
Hmm.
and I'm just like, wow. How does he know? Like, how do you like? I just don't know. Like, I mean, like you said, it's repetition. I'm sure, and you've
Sure.
been trained to do it. But just to see you break it down so quickly on a piano, and I was just like, that's incredible. And then you seem to know right where they're gonna go. I've seen you get thrown off though, like you said a couple times. You're like, wow, that's weird, but it works.
Sure. You tend to start expecting where they're going to go.
Right.
So a lot of it for me, and I think about this a lot as a composer. When you're writing something, you're it's the same as a poet or a novelist or a filmmaker. You're trying to create an emotional experience
Right.
for the person that's going to be listening or watching
Yep.
or what have you.
I
And so
love
you
writing poetry, so I can
so
relate
you
maybe.
yeah, so you need to set up a narrative or some sort of direction that creates a universe for the listener, and then sets up what you want to do, and then delivers that. So a lot of time I'll be expecting them to they're going to go there, they're going to go there, and then they don't. I'm like, messing with me now, messing with me now. There's a lot a lot of the ways that traditional composers will prove their worth is in how we do like modulations. And I'll see these guys, I'm just going to go from this key to this key. I'm like, they're like, deal with it. I'm in this key now. I'm like, well, you could have done that and done that and done
Right.
that. I'm like, they don't care. They just want to go to the next verse.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's
It's
just fascinating.
I'm really excited about. I get excited about learning new things and learning new repertoire. And I, I dabbled a little bit as a keyboardist in a rock band in college, but I didn't play nearly as well back then as I do
Right.
now.
Right.
And I remember that we'd play a few covers, and I'm like, this is just fun music to play.
Yeah.
And
That's what it's all about for them. Is
and then I
fun.
got I got away from it, and so I'm thinking, I don't know, it'd be kind of fun to jam with some players and see what we can come up with.
I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool. And then because yeah, it's all about fun. Like, at least with the bands, a lot of the bands. I can't say all of them. Some of them are a little bit heavier, and stuff. The reason I like Iron Maiden is their stories. Their songs have a story, and I
Yep.
love. That's what I've always been attracted to with Iron Maiden. And well, they're a great band too. But I just
Steve's
like the
lyrics are,
stories.
are great.
They're amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And is there any bands like that that really shock you, like heavy metal bands that you're like, wow, this is technical stuff
Ah,
more.
I have a really good friend of mine. So I've been supported by a couple of close friends, one being my little brother,
Right.
and another is a really good friend of mine who's a big Rush fan and a big Dream Theater fan.
Oh, I
And
love them. Yeah.
he has tried to play Dream Theater. He had tried to play Dream Theater for me before, and maybe I just wasn't quite ready for it. But hearing them, and now I've gotten to meet John, and I've gotten to meet and become nice friends with Jordan, and they're just flabbergastingly amazing
Yeah.
at what they do. Just
Absolutely.
absolute world class musicians. If John Petrucci was a violinist, he'd be one of the once in a generation concert violinists.
Really?
He just happens to play on a different type of string instrument. I mean, they're that technically good. Jordan was a prodigy at Juilliard,
Mm-hmm.
and he got bored with it. He's like, I want to play this stuff. It's more fun.
I got bored. It's crazy. I
There,
just,
there, there is a personality to it. I mean, you're the for like the top performers. You're always playing somebody else's music,
that's
and
true. Yeah, you're right.
you're judged by how closely you get to the ideal, and everybody else knows what the ideal is.
Yeah, you're so
It's
right.
it does a number on your brain. It takes a special type of personality to really excel at the top of that level for instrumentalists, professional violinists and people that do that, as well as just section players in universities
Mm-hmm.
and orchestras all around the world.
Yeah, that's incredible because now I'm starting to listen to things like that, and the reason I started listening to a bit more orchestra stuff, obviously, it got once again through heavy metal was Metallica
Mhm.
doing their album with the orchestra, and
Right.
once again that blew my mind because I'm like, oh my god, a band as heavy as Metallica, and there's this great big orchestra behind them, and it just sounds amazing. I'm like,
Hmm.
it's just incredible when you see how it can be broken down like that, the heavy band like Metallica can commingle with an orchestra, and it
Hmm.
works.
Hmm. The language works. We've talked about how the approach to the sounds is quite different,
Hmm.
but the language that all the musicians are using is basically the same. So we can intertwine. It's fine.
That's what makes music so amazing, though. That like,
Yeah.
and I mean, didn't see it before. I don't know. I never looked at it that way. I was always like, it's heavy metal, and that's what I like. Rock, and now it's amazing when your eyes open and you kind of see all different. I missed out on so much music growing
Mm,
up that was incredible because it didn't have this certain image. And then now I'm really starting to appreciate artists for what they can do. Like, it's
yeah.
incredible what they can
Es-
do.
Especially if you like the heavier stuff. Um, Stravinsky is really rhythmic and really earthy in his
Hmm.
music. Igor Stravinsky, Russian composer, especially The Rite of Spring, Petrushka, some of his ballets are just yum, boom, boom, boom.
I
They're
would like
just,
that. Yeah.
you know, they're a British guy from 100 years ago, like World War I era, Gustav Holst, writing the planets and Mars, the bringer of war. What key is that? You know,
I love that stuff.
boom, bum, right. It's just bringing in that tritone as this big idea that was kind of a new thing, and we would always avoid the tritone as a tent pole
Hmm.
way to prop up a tonic chord or where home base was, and
There was in
and
heavy metal that kind of started taking that, like Black Sabbath.
yeah, and then so that original Black Sabbath riff with that with the tritone,
Hmm.
and they're halfway in between the fourth and the fifth. It doesn't. It's just an unstable interval, right? If you think of the 12 chromatic notes that we have in an octave being the 12 hours of a clock
Yep.
face, the tritone is directly across the clock at any time, right?
Oh,
Diametrically
okay.
opposed. Bum, 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 bum. It's the farthest away you can get.
And it works for that music.
It it's such a acoustical phenomenon as an interval that it spurs energy around it, and you can't ignore it. It's just
It's
that
like an emotion that you get.
it's danger, or it's in that sense it's danger, or it could be hopeful,
That's amazing.
right?
Yep. I
Just
like the
depends.
darker. stuff. It seems like it just, I don't know why, it just, that's what resonates, is that when you're really in that like you're like that, that heavy stuff.
Yeah,
That seems to be what.
but check out The Planets by Holst. Oh, what else would um check out Threnody by Stockhausen. That'll
Okay.
mess with you. That will mess with your mind. And the oh, let's see what else is heavy. The Verdi Requiem, the Dies Irae,
Okay.
the Day of Judgment and Wrath, you know,
It sounds
and
heavy.
it's just big bass drums. They're just banging on stuff. It's the classical stuff can be very repetitive and all sounding the same, and you can get lost in it. But there's other types of that really do bang it out. Um, the way that we're trained to listen to it, we hear like if I hear a Mozart piece or a Bach piece, and it's just a harpsichord that's going from here to here to here, and you're like, it all kind of sounds the same. We're trained to hear, oh, he started in that key, and now he's in that key, and now he's in that key, and now he's coming back, and so we're hearing it slightly differently
Okay.
um, than just hearing it being boring, you know. Um, Classical folks that I've met say rock music is boring because it's so repetitive and often doesn't change keys,
Okay, I see. And I think
right?
it's amazing.
So it depends on the perspective that you're on and how you're approaching it. Um, I've had practice with sort of burying as much as I can my preconceived bias for a particular piece because I teach composition. And so people trust me to bring me their sounds, and say,
Really? Okay.
don't hurt me. What do you think of this? And how can I make it better? And I've had people bringing in stuff that sounds like the Renaissance, stuff that sounds like the future, stuff that sounds, any and all between, and it's their voice, and it's my job to be able to take whatever language or perspective that they're trying to get at and give them tools to help further realize their own artistic voice. And if you're always trying to harp the same ideas or the
Hmm.
same solutions because you like that style of music, then you're not being as good of a teacher or or a help to them.
That
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
cool.
That's really cool, Doug. And so I'm trying to picture. So do people, the way you described, I'm picturing that people bring you a lot of like music that they've written, but it's not very organized, and they trust you to organize it. Like kind of like I'm thinking of somebody that like writes a book and they got all of these rough drafts, and they bring
Sure.
them to you, and they're like, okay, Doug, like I can't, I this is what I want to do, but I can you piece it together? Is that, am
Yeah,
I right on that assumption
you
or?
you are, and it's in it, whatever context you can think of. I've probably been in it. I've helped students that are stuck figure out how to start.
Okay,
Because the
cool.
most intimidating thing, the most yeah, scary thing as a composer or as a writer is a blank page and a and no point of view.
Yeah,
You
I can
know,
see that.
what am I gonna? How do I get past that? How do I know what to start with? So we'll help with developing ideas. We can help with writing motives, these little kernels of ideas, or like a hook. We'll then start. Some people like to start with lyrics and write off of that. Some people like to start with music and then try to fit lyrics to it. Just learning what works for them. Some people will bring a completed piece and just ask for my thoughts on that. And that I normally have less to say about because I don't want to go, hey, if you took that apart and took that apart and did that, their piece is done.
Right.
You can say, hey, next time, or say, I really liked how you did that. That could have been developed a little bit more, or that needed to be repeated if you wanted to have the whole thing kind of feel better as a form.
Right.
Oh, you buried the lead, this is the cool part. That sort of, just to help them for the next time that they're doing it. But most of the time it's we will come and they'll have, I've got these ideas and these ideas and these ideas, help. Like, how do I organize this?
Wow.
Or I don't know what should come next, you know and
That's
and
fascinating.
we just explore it, and we'll take that out, we'll put that in and see if that works any better. We'll
Hmm.
tweak it a little bit and see, and then over time you make a piece.
That's incredible. I'm
Yeah.
just picturing the structure of it, and
Yeah.
where do you? And I can see what you're saying by the start. I wouldn't even know where to start, to be honest.
Hmm.
I have a friend who does hip hop, and I watch him write all the time because I'm fascinated by music and artists, just how you guys do what you do, because I can't do it. So I'm very fascinated by it. But his way of doing it is he has just a really a simple beat that's going in the background, and I can just see him sitting there writing, and he's
Hmm.
going to this beat, and I try to do what he does, and it does not work out for me. But for him, it's just this one steady beat, and he's
Yeah.
like, this is what I need. It just works, and it's really fascinating that how people do this. It's
I've
a gift.
noticed, yeah, and I've noticed that a lot of people that are successful at writing or creating um, all have a trait of not being afraid to improv.
That's true. You're right.
Um, play something, write something. Well, I'm sure it'll be okay. I'm sure I'll land on my feet. And if I don't, that was sure funny.
Yeah.
Hope you got that on camera. I'll try again.
Yeah.
It takes that sort of mindset. Like if you're afraid that it's going to be wrong, then it's difficult to start.
That makes a lot of sense in
Yeah.
life, actually.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, that's a great life lesson. I mean, how
Mm,
many people are just in this fear that they don't even start something? I mean, I'd
sure.
rather start it and fail than not try it. If you know,
And one of the things, and even if I mean, I've done more Iron Maiden reactions than I have any other band on the channel, but they're not my absolute favorite of the bands that I've reacted to on
hmm
the channel. I love them, but if I had to rank like a favorite, I don't think they'd be my favorite. But I definitely respect the crap out of those guys because they've been doing it for what, 40
yeah,
years
40, yeah,
plus.
40
I mean,
plus.
they put the bands that have this longevity, I have the utmost respect for because it takes energy to go on the road, to write the songs, to to do the work,
Hmm.
and they put it in the work. And it's just a marvel that we have so many of these classic bands that are still uh,
Out there doing it.
and doing it at a high level.
And that's true. They're killing it still. And it's just like
Yeah,
wow. Like I mean, when
these
and
60 and 70 year
I
olds know how to
know.
party.
I know. I think of that. I'm like 70 years old, and they're out there. My dad's 70 years old. I can't picture him on a
Yeah.
stage running
I mean,
around like
Bruce
I.
Springsteen's still doing 3-hour concerts. I'm like, how is that guy standing up?
Yeah,
It's amazing.
I totally agree. It makes you wonder how they can even keep that pace up, but it's got to be love and the thrill of it
Yeah.
because it's incredible when you see that they're
Yeah.
still going at it. And the question I want to ask you too, and to get your opinion on is, I talk to a lot of people that listen to music, and they have this opinion now in the music that music is not the same as it was years ago. It's more commercial. It's
Mm,
more um I don't know the proper word. I like it's just not it's not like the old times. And I noticed that with a lot of the rock music that's coming out. There's
mm.
something missing. Do you how do you see the music right now? Do you see it being in a great spot? Is it
I have
creative?
I have a weird perspective on this
That's
because
why I asked.
a lot of the music that I've been catching up on is not current music.
That's
It's
you're right.
music that's been 30, 40 years. A lot of my demographic are fans of you know classic era like Rush and Dream Theater, but also like Yes and Genesis. And I mean, I've got Deep Purple, I've got Genesis, I've got the Who, I've got Marillion, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, the Beatles.
Marillion.
I
Wow.
love Marillion.
Marillion's
Marillion
awesome.
is like if there's any band, sidebar, if there's any band that I had no clue existed that I really have grooved with, it's Marillion.
Yeah.
I love those guys.
My wife introduced me. I'd never heard of them. And she's like, "You
Yeah,
got to hear these guys." And I
yeah,
was just like, "Wow." And it's not my it's just a different style of music even what
for
I'm used
sure.
to, but wow.
Yeah.
There's
They're
some
really
great
great.
stuff out there. I love that you got vinyl too. Like that's amazing.
You know, I never the vinyl story comes was just a kind of a fluke and the result of great generosity from my patrons. We were talking last year, and they kept and I kept saying it'd be actually. You know what happened? Now that I'm remembering it, I was at my mom's place, and her husband Ralph has a big record collection.
Hmm.
And the last time that I was at their place, I took some video of me. I'm like, he's got some really cool records, and I was playing some stuff, and I took some video for my patrons, and they're like, Doug likes vinyl. We should get him a record player. So they got me a
Absolutely.
record player, and I'm like, cool. I need to get some records, and then people just started sending me records.
That's
Like I've
incredible.
gotten more than 100 records through the mail.
If people are like, check this out.
Yeah, they send me stuff. I've got like, uh, I put some of them out, but I've got whole stacks of them, and I've got some more over in a crate over there. And it's it's really reinvigorated my love of music. I come from a generation I had never heard uncompressed music before.
Really?
You know,
That's fascinating. I've always had vinyl, and
did
I argue with people that vinyl sounds better on a proper stereo too.
mm,
And people will argue that no, you hear all the arguments, but you never beat vinyl in my opinion. So I'm curious what you think.
I the first thing I listened to was Close to the Edge.
Awesome.
Up there,
Yep.
right? So the ones that never move are Abbey Road, Close to the Edge, and Dark Side. Everything else rotates. But we got the record player last August, and the first one that I listened to was Close to the Edge. I put on the headphones, and I'm like, it's not even any question, especially if you've got a nice thick heavyweight vinyl.
Oh yeah.
It's a whole different experience.
That's what I tell
Whole different
people,
experience.
and they don't believe
So
me. I'm like, you have to hear it in vinyl.
yeah,
You have to, and then when I do get people to listen, it blows their mind. They're like, "Oh
yeah,
my god!" Like there's sounds I never heard on the CD, or
yeah.
they can't get. They try to get close to it, but they can't.
I think I read that this past year was the first time in decades where more LPs were sold than CDs
Oh, that's so good to hear.
around the world.
Amazing. That's what we need. We
Yeah.
need more people
Plus,
getting vinyl.
plus, not many computers have optical drives anymore. So I mean, how are you going to play a CD? You know, or a
That's a
CD
good
player?
point. I'm looking at my laptop. I'm like, I couldn't play a CD on there.
You
So
need an
you're
external drive.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, incredible. And I just keeping an eye on the time because I don't want to keep you too long. I know I'm oh okay, I got a few minutes.
Cool.
Because I'm just enjoying this so much, Doug. Thank you so much. I was like I said, I was so excited to chat with you because I really wanted to thank you for changing the way I look at music, and I
Oh,
know
you're welcome.
you really did. And I enjoy the show that you do. I enjoy all your reaction videos, and I really enjoy all of your YouTube channel. It's an amazing experience, and I'm going to make sure I leave links in the description so people can find you
Yeah.
and really see what I'm talking about as how, and you will see, guys, how he breaks down songs right in front of you, and it's just incredible. I found it incredible,
Hmm.
and I know a lot of your viewers do too. You're getting a huge following, so that's so
Mhm.
great to see that people are. I've always said music brings people together, and it's my center.
For
And
sure.
like, just so, what are some of the like? Because I know you compose music and that. What are some of the things over the years that you've worked on that people can check out? Like, I'm sure you've done a
Ah,
lot, so I want to hear about some of the great things you've done.
I have some selected works on. If you go to my YouTube channel, which is I think Doug.Helvering, or if you just look up Doug Helvering, you'll find me.
It'll be
It's
right
R.
there.
Douglas Helvering is the channel. But I've got a playlist of original compositions that feature some of my favorite recordings of my own work. I am most known, and I've written more for choir choral music than any other like type.
That's cool.
I've never written a symphony. I've written a requiem mass, a big 40-minute piece for choir and orchestra and soloists and everything. But most of the stuff that I got known writing for choirs, and then once that happens, other choirs pay you to write more choir music, so you end up writing a whole bunch of choir music.
That's it. I
So
didn't even know you could do such a thing.
yep, yep. Um,
Wow.
um, and when you think about how many like high school choirs and college
Mm-hmm.
choirs and even community choir, even just in the country, there's lots of opportunities to have your pieces done by these groups, and there's several publishers of that type of music specifically that I've worked through, and I publish my own stuff as sometimes
Mm-hmm.
as well. But if people want to hear some of the stuff that I've written, it's in a playlist on my YouTube channel. The other thing is, not only do I have what's going on YouTube, we tend to publish 3 or 4 videos a week. Um, we also I have a Patreon,
Yes.
which is a, subscription community, but we keep it not too expensive. We want to build community and not keep it too exclusive. But over there, that's where I have a little bit more freedom to do some different things. That's where I do my full album
Mm-hmm.
reactions. I do some teaching and behind the score stuff. That's where I do hangouts and Zoom chats with a bunch of our folks, and we have a great time. So I would love for people to join the fun.
Absolutely. I'll make sure I leave a link too for that so people can go and check it out. And you bring up a good point about YouTube. I
Mm,
know as a content creator, it's getting harder to put content out. I'm always getting a flag for something. And I've
mm.
heard you talk about this, that you have some problems with certain music and you're always kind of arguing, and I kind of giggle. I don't like to, but when you're talking about it, I'm like, I know what he's going through.
Mm.
What like that must frustrate you.
It um
And you can say whatever you want when it does.
in a word, I hope that my neck doesn't get red as I talk. Actually, just today,
Wow.
as I right before we got to talk, today's episode was supposed to be. We're getting towards the end of April, and I
Mm-hmm.
was going to do for International Guitar Month a Stevie Ray Vaughan tune,
Right.
and got blocked. Just yeah, and I see dozens of other people that have reviewed the exact same video. It'll probably get unblocked in a few days, and then I can release it. But it's become increasingly a minefield at
Absolutely.
YouTube. YouTube is in the process of trying to move to a licensing system, and they're in the middle of it, which is why it's so messy. They're trying to get artists to provide licenses through YouTube for creators to then use their music. They could say, "Hey, this is available for free. Have at it." They could say, "I will like $5, please," or "I would like $250,
Mm-hmm.
please, if you want to use my piece." That's in the They're working on that, and they've got a beta rolled out for some creators in America, but it's at the very early stages, and there's not much of a library yet to pick from.
Right.
Because I'd love to revenue share with bands. That's the you know I'm of the opinion that I'm not violating their copyright,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also mindful that I wouldn't have episodes reacting to somebody's music if I didn't have the music. So um, I'm all willing to do licensing and to share revenue and all that sort of stuff. So I'm hopeful of where it's going. But
I hope they do
as they're
fix that.
as they're rolling this new thing out, the old stuff is getting swatted a lot more, and so it'll be a tough transition. But YouTube is still a very solid platform, and it's where all the people are, quite
That
frankly.
that's what I tell people. A lot of people I talk to hate YouTube because they of their censorship. I'm like, but I get it, but that's where the people are.
It's true.
They've got that really cornered well, and I'm on YouTube, so I get it. I've had videos blocked and all kinds of things too, so I get the frustration.
Mm.
And I get what you're saying too, because I certain songs, I'll see people do a reaction to, and they get blocked or they get flagged. But like you said, you'll go and do a search on YouTube, and there's 50 other people that have reacted to
Yeah.
the exact same song, and you're like, okay, this makes no sense.
The AI is complicated and it's messy. I mean, for instance, I did Quadrophenia
Mm-hmm.
by The Who, which is a double-sided, a double album, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's got four sides. So I did that for an extended play lounge on my Patreon, and I was prepping to get it ready to release on YouTube. And so I decided to do one video with sides 1 and 2 and another video with sides 3 and 4. And I uploaded them. I put new intros and outros on them, and then I uploaded those two new videos to YouTube. And I got a block on every single song on sides 1 and 2, and I didn't get any blocks on all the songs on sides 3 and 4.
That makes okay.
Same album, same record label,
That
same
doesn't. Yeah,
band.
that makes no sense. But
So I'm going to release sides 3 and 4 of Quadrophenia like in a few days. That's
mm-hmm.
why the album's out. If you want to hear sides 1 or my reaction to sides 1 and 2, you got to go to the Patreon, because I am blocked from allowing that to be on YouTube, and it doesn't make any sense.
There is no rhyme or reason to it. It
Yeah.
seems. That's what I've heard from so many people, and I think that myself. It's just
Yeah.
whether AI picks it up or not. Is there any bands that you react to that it's just impossible to get anything up? Because I've heard that Ozzy's bad, but then I've also seen people react to Ozzy, so I don't know. Like
all of my Ozzy content that's on YouTube at one point was blocked.
okay,
So what happens typically is you get a block, and you dispute it, and maybe it's 3 days, maybe it's 4 days, maybe it's a week, maybe it's 2 weeks, but eventually most of them get unblocked at some point. So when I see people releasing, like earlier this week, I released Mr. Crowley
I
by
remember
by
that. Yep.
Ozzy. I recorded it 6 days previous, and it was blocked on that Wednesday or whenever it was that I recorded it. And it took like 4 calendar days for it to get unblocked.
Which
In
makes
time,
it hard for you as a content creator to
it,
provide on a day that you're saying.
right. So it's become more and more of a minefield for me to get up in the morning and say, okay, what song am I up to today? Read in, react to it, edit it, upload it, and share it with the people. If I've told people and people are expecting something, and I get blocked, it makes me angry.
I don't blame
I
you.
have stress from that, because I have expectations from an audience, and this is my business now.
Yep.
It's not just for fun anymore. I mean, it is fun, but this is turned into my work,
Absolutely.
full time, and I'm absolutely loving it. But it is something on a weekly basis that we have to deal with. I'm hoping that it gets better, but
I
it's
think
not
it will.
so uncumbersome that it'll deter from what's happening. I mean, people love watching other people get to experience something that they love for the first time, because wouldn't you want to get like a listen of your favorite album for the first time again?
I would love that.
You
Oh my
know,
God.
what we wouldn't give for that. And so that's a little bit of the emotional connection between people that do reaction videos, what and the listeners, especially if it's a cherished piece.
Yeah.
And what I always try to do is to basically, I call on my sports background. I'm doing play by play.
Yep.
Like, there's a ground ball to the center fielder, single, and okay, this next guy's up. Okay, he's got a 300 batting average. I'm just calling them as it happens. Like, there's an E chord. Oh, cool. He went to the 4 chord. Check this out. He went up to F sharp. That's a new key. To tip your waitresses and waiters. And it's just you're calling balls and strikes.
It's very true. And you'll even talk about the lyrics, which I love when you'll even bring up the lyrics and be like, because it all plays together the way that you present it. It's a great package because you're breaking it down, the music. You're talking about the words, which I love when you bring up the lyrics and you're like, wow, this really is saying something. It's a really neat experience.
The words are always important to me. I mean, I've made my living previously as as a writer of texted music. So I've always approached things where if I have the music, I can tell what the meter's going to be. I can tell what the tempo is going to be, where the high parts and where the melody is going to kind of curve, and what just by orating the text. And it's so I've always tied into um, how the musical ideas flow and connect to the ideas of the of the language. And
Hmm.
sometimes it's black and white, and other times it's really metaphorical. But
That's
it's
true.
always, I think it's always there, especially with really good music. It's always there.
Yep. I
That
totally agree.
connection. Yeah.
Definitely a connection, and what I love about music too, Doug, is that feeling that you get. For me, there's certain songs that I hear, and this is the power of music. And I know that you experience. I've actually heard you in a video say, I don't even know if you remember. I can't remember what video it was, but you were listening to a song, and you're like, I have hairs. The hairs on my arm are standing up.
Hmm.
What else is so powerful? And that's what amazes me. I'll hear a song that I grew up with, and I'll visibly get the goosebumps and hairs on my neck go up. There's something
Yeah.
happening,
Yeah.
and I've seen you even react that way. You're like, wow, hairs on my arm are going up.
Yeah.
It's just incredible, the power of music. And I think that you have a real gift. You really do.
Thank you.
And the way you present it and the way you break it down, it changed me to listening to music, and I know it's changed so many other people. Recommended your channel to so many friends too, and I got them watching you because
Cool.
it's just really neat how, like I said, for you it's a common thing, but just to see somebody do that so quickly, it's fascinating. To kind of wrap it up and bring it full circle, I had a friend who really enjoys what you do, and they're
Mm.
how does somebody get started into the path of doing what you do as a career?
Ah. Oh, like doing reaction videos
No, not
or
reaction videos. Getting
ah.
involved in music and learning about it. Like, I know you got to go to school, but where did they start? Like, do you have to
Um,
go to, like, I don't know anything about music school, so that's why I'm asking, and they wanted me to ask.
I would say pick either the piano or the guitar.
Okay.
They're both instruments that can be played where you can chord and play harmonically, and you can play melodically. So yeah, and get with a teacher that can start to unlock either instrument for you. It really doesn't matter. I mean, people can be keyboard based and write great music and play great music, and people can be guitar based, and vice versa. But I think through an instrument where you're actually making the sounds, it could be voice too. That could work as well. But I think really, if you want to start learning the nuts and bolts of it, and then really develop the um, just the joy of interfacing with your instrument and making sounds,
Right.
get an instrument and get a teacher, and then once you get somewhat competent and going with that, then we can start to introduce some basic theory concepts and go from there.
That sounds really cool. Is schooling, because you got, like I said, you have your certificate behind you and that. So
Mhm.
how many years is somebody looking at to do what you do? Or is it vary? Like, I'm sorry if they're not the greatest questions, but I really don't know how to
I
ask
have
them.
I have 10 years of college.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of work involved
Yep,
in
it
it.
was. I did my undergrad in 5, mainly because it's supposed to be a 4-year program, but I didn't start in music, so I was a little off track. First, my master's was most masters in America are 2-year programs. Most doctorates are 3-year programs.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That gives them, that's great advice. Thank you, because I'm sure it's going to help. I mean, that's what I figured too. When they were asking me,
Yeah.
I'm thinking you should get an instrument. Is what I'm thinking. I mean, if you want to
Mhm.
do music, that's a great way to learn. And it makes sense to me. And, like, I'm glad you brought up voice too, because that is an
Sure.
amazing instrument. So I think a lot of people have
Yeah.
to look at it that way.
And one of the things that I would do that really got me, and this brings it full circle a little bit as well, is I would oftentimes hear stuff on the radio and go, "Ooh, I like that. I wonder if I can play that when I get home." Can I remember it? And I would like crash and burn, but keep trying, and you'll remember patterns or how your hand feels, or like that. How did they do that?
Mm-hmm.
They went there, and we take what other artists do and we try it on for ourselves and go, yeah, this fits. I like this. This could be good for me. I'm going to tweak it here. I might put this patch on it, but it feels good,
Yeah.
and that's how we borrow ideas and we build off of other folks. I just did the other day, I did a teaching video for my patrons on Because by the Beatles, and John Lennon wrote that, trying to mimic the a Beethoven.
All right. Oh no, we lost internet, guys. That's okay. This has happened before. Let me just go ahead, go to my camera logo. Hopefully we get Doug back here.
I lost you. There you are.
There we go. No problem. Let me just, I was just babbling away. There we go. Got you back. We got Doug back. Continue, Doug.
Cool.
Doug, I'm so sorry.
No. What was I saying?
We were talking about how the Beatles, they were trying to mimic.
Yeah. So John was inspired by Yoko playing a little Beethoven Moonlight Sonata excerpt. And he's like, ooh, I like that. What is it? And then he almost, he does a lot of lifting from the opening of that really famous Beethoven piece, but it sounds like John Lennon.
With his own little twist. You're right.
No?
I once heard Ozzy say that too, that we're all stealing from each other. And like, there's nothing really original. We're all just kind of we're stealing stuff we like and adding our own little flair to it. And I think that's with every profession in a way. I mean, we're all just building off the shoulders of other people.
Yeah. And it's also something to remember as a writer too. Like, I would get stuck trying to think, okay, I need to come up with something that nobody else has come up with before. Good luck. Somebody else has thought of it.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Just write it. Write what sounds right to you. That's what I tell people.
That's great advice. And I remember you were saying before we kind of broke up there that you were like bringing an instrument, like, if you have an instrument, if you want to go home and you listen to the album and you try to figure out what they're playing and try to play it on. Like, I tried that with guitar, and I'm telling you, you make it sound easy. It's not easy. I tried to do that, and I have friends that can just hear a song once and they'll start on the guitar and they're not getting it perfect, but they're piecing it together. I can never do that. I don't know if I'm tone deaf or something's going on with my ears.
Well, that's a different class. Maybe we'll have to get together another time.
Get together for a tone deaf class. Well, thank you so much, Doug. It was such a pleasure having you here. I want to give you the last couple minutes just to refresh everybody, let everybody know where they can find you, and I'll make sure I leave links in the description so people can go check it out.
My main website is rdouglashelvering.com. But if you want to see me doing my thing, it's YouTube, and just type in Doug Helvering and you'll find me. And my Patreon is patreon.com/Doug Helvering. And we have the highest tier we have on Patreon is $8 a month.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So and we have over 1,000 people in the community.
Incredible.
And
wow.
And we have a huge Discord community, and we have what we call Daily Doug Radio. We play music for each other. We like to listen to music. We have a music club where people make presentations. It really is a community aspect. If you want to get immersed with other music nerds that are very outgoing and welcoming and won't badmouth you for what you like, and just it is a really great community that we've got going. And it's amazing to me that I've ended up here. I lost my teaching gig as COVID started,
right?
In the wake of all of that, and I was like, what is gonna happen now? I've been busting my rump for a couple of decades, and the prospects were grim. And out of kind of nowhere, this new community and this new way to interact with music came to be, and it's really re-energized and re-sparked my joy of it. And so I just love chatting about it and sharing that with all of the folks out there. So it's wonderful.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Doug. What you do is incredible. I keep saying that, but it really is. You're making people see music in a different way. And I know that from experience. And it's amazing that you're building a community around music. I think music is a great center for everyone, and it can
For
really bring
sure.
people together. So keep doing what you're doing, my friend, and I'll keep watching and keep supporting. You're doing an incredible, and I wish you all the success in the world, my friend. You're doing amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate the support.
All right, you're welcome back anytime. Take care, my friend.
Sounds good.
All
Thanks.
right, peace.
Peace.
Well, there we have it, my friends. What an incredible, incredible individual. I was so excited to have this interview with Doug. As I told you guys at the beginning, he really did change the way that I look at music. Like he just did. I watched so many reaction videos, throughout the week. I just get in the mood to listen to some music, so I like listening to reaction videos of people hearing stuff for the first time. And usually, as I was saying, it is vocal people. That just seems to be what I always land on, is people hearing Ozzy or whatever, you name the band for their first time, and I love seeing their reaction. But I came across Doug's channel, and because it was an Iron Maiden song that I like, as we were talking about, and he broke it down, and that just amazed me. And then I started watching more of his videos, and I just watch. I enjoy all of them because to me, he makes it sound easy. To me, that is such a gift, to be able to just hear music. And I know it comes with years and years of practice, as he was saying, and repetition. I get that. It's like, I mean, it's like that for anything. Somebody who draws or writes poetry, paints or whatever, it's repetition and doing it all the time. But for people like me who have a hard trouble, I tried playing guitar, and I got it. I can make chords. I could play, I could keep along with the odd song, but I wasn't one of these people who could put a record on, hear the guitar in the background, and then start figuring it out. And by the end of the night, they've pretty much pieced the song together. That wasn't me at all. I struggled with it. I love music. I love guitar. I love bass. I'm a really big bass fan, and drums. Absolutely. I like the low end of stuff, I guess. And I wish I would have practiced more and maybe took it more serious, because I really do enjoy music. I always tell you guys it's my center, and it was such a joy to have Doug here. It's incredible how he got into doing the reaction videos, and his channel's amazing. He covers so many different bands, and his Patreon, that sounds amazing, which is incredible. He's building a community around music, and I'm all about building community. I talk about that all the time, especially with my co-host Jonathan, who we do our radio show on Saturday nights over at revolution.radio, guys. Make sure you go there Saturday nights. It's Crypt, Rick, and Jonathan show. We are in Studio B from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then I'm also there doing my own show on Mondays, and I'm in Studio A, and it's also from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is revolution.radio, guys. Check it out. And thank you guys for checking this video out. Thank you for all the support you do. If you enjoyed this, please, I always hate to ask, but hit the subscribe button, the like, share it out if you want, because it all helps. And that's just the way it works here at YouTube. So I always like to at least ask for that. And thank you guys so much. I hope you guys are having a great day, a great evening, wherever you are. Stay safe, take care of each other, and keep playing music, guys. Rock it, crank it. I'm all for loud music. Whatever that is, you like rock, metal, whatever it is, I'm not going to hate you for it. I'm enjoying all different types of music now. It's really, my ears have opened up, and I'm definitely experiencing new music, kind of like Doug was. Like he was saying, he's listening to music that was, 30, 40 years old. I'm kind of like that too, but I'm got heavy metal covered at rock, but I'm learning about all these other amazing bands that I just never looked at growing up. But their songs are incredible. So thank you guys so much. Take care, and I will be back very, very soon with another amazing guest. I got some great ones lined up for this month, so keep checking back frequently, guys, and I'm going to keep bringing you some amazing content here, some amazing guests on all different topics. So take care, guys, and I will see you soon.
Are you interested in the paranormal? Murder mysteries, cryptocurrency, and thought-provoking interviews. Then check out Crypt Rick's I've Been Thinking on YouTube, or every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Studio A at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Welcome to the Crypt.